Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Belt Barber podcast, the first and only podcast about entrepreneurship for barbers and professionals of our beauty industry. This podcast is sponsored by Invictus Podcast Studios. And follow me on Instagram, Tick Invictus. And today I have someone here very interesting to talk about scalp micropigmentation. He's a specialist in this field. So, Mr. Dennis Romero.
Yes.
So, who you are, explain to us what you do. So, now, you were born, now you're here. What happened between?
It's my parents came from Central America. They migrated to New York. That's where Dennis was born. That's where Dennis grew up. Yeah, I grew up in New York. I went to school in New York. I went to college in New York. I initially went to college for design.
I was about to ask that.
So I was a design major at the Fashion Institute of Technology at FIT. But I didn't want to do that. So I completely shifted. And one day I decided I'm going to be an actor. I mean, I was already taking acting courses heavily in college and before that. But then, I just decided that graphic design and the design world wasn't really for me because it was a time when everything was being done on a computer. It's like when the graphic world took a turn, and I knew that my job was going to be sitting behind a computer, and I didn't want that. So, a long story short, I became an actor. I lived that life for maybe like almost 10 years. It took me to California, agents, auditions, like that was my life. The last thing I auditioned for was the Power Rangers.
Whoa.
The Blue Power Ranger.
No
I
way.
didn't get it, but I auditioned for the Power Rangers. Yeah, and then I left LA, came back to New York. I went through an episode where I was like not well for like 2 years, and upon getting better, I just wasn't in that mindset anymore. So I didn't want to continue in that field. And so I made again another complete pivot and went into like the wellness field, spa, massage, and all this stuff. I've always found myself just making changes that are really unrelated. So it's kind of an eclectic experience. And then from massage, I became, a scalp micropigmentation artist. So yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
So, did you get the license for all the other side of the beauty, this cosmetology thing?
I never studied cosmetology. No.
Oh,
No, I just went straight into it. I mean, like, it helped to have an art background, right? Because it is a craft, it is an art. You're creating something on somebody's skin with pigment, with ink. You're trying to make a bald man look like he has hair when there's nothing there sometimes. So it is a skill. It is an artistic skill. It's a craft, and so yeah, having that experience and having that design experience and then that art experience, I think helped me just move quicker through the whole process of becoming an SMP artist.
You mentioned they were unrelated, but at the end they are related because it's all like artistic stuff.
Yeah,
it's all
yeah,
artistic.
yeah.
Acting, design,
Yeah.
massage.
So I was exactly. So I was always a creative
Yeah.
in anything and everything that I ever did. I was always a creative.
Interesting.
So yeah, just different avenues.
Just before we go move on, again, thank you very much for coming, man. You have an amazing vibe, just like you were telling about us. You have an amazing vibe. I like to interview people just like you,
Thank you.
like more free to talk.
Yeah,
I like
thank
that.
you.
Explain to us what is micropigmentation.
So
Scalp.
scalp micropigmentation is the process of applying micro impressions. So with a machine and a tattoo needle, a very fine tattoo needle, you make small impressions or dots on someone's scalp. And through the course of several sessions, you build density and you build the depth of tone, the darkness of how you want it, in order to achieve a look that, like I said, makes it look like the person has a full head of hair that they keep short as a style choice, right? Yeah, and that's essentially how it works.
I was scrolling down through your Instagram. You tried that on yourself, but now you can pass that on because some people self-esteem could be low because of that, right? And you done it yourself. I read it on your bio Instagram too. How much does that cost?
It depends how much hair loss there is.
Oh yeah.
Because some people have lost hair, but it's minimal. Maybe just a receded hairline. But then some people have lost everything
From side, back.
I mean, some people, if it's an alopecia, like an alopecia totalis, which means they've lost everything, there's nothing on their head, that's probably going to be like somewhere around $5,000.
Well, do you think they're gonna have any special, or they're gonna create a remedy or medicine for alopecia too? That's not the topic here, but
I have no idea. They haven't up until now. It's an autoimmune disease. So, I don't, who knows? Maybe, science is crazy. Maybe they will come up with it and, maybe they won't.
When you price the service of scalp micropigmentation, do you price based on the hour? How many hours?
No.
How many sessions?
No, I price just based on how much work there is, depending on how much hair loss there is.
Mm-hmm.
So I base it on just like if I look at you and you're bald, fully bald, then I'm going to assign a price to that because I know how much work is going to go into that.
Yeah.
And then if I see somebody that just has a little bit, like sometimes women come in because they thin, but women thin differently. Like we get bald like this,
Yeah.
right? Women just get thinning throughout. It just starts to get thinner and thinner. So, if a woman has a little thinning in the front, obviously it's going to be far less than a man who's completely bald. But I have done women who I've treated like I treat men, like a full bald, because they have alopecia.
Yeah.
And so, I had one client that came in and she was an African-American woman and she says, I want you to give me the Wakanda forever.
Wow.
We cut hair. I'm a barber, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a barber shop down the street, and we make people feel good and look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw and I read you saying on the podcast episode that you've done, you said that your biggest reward is to bring back that confidentiality of people. Tell me something about
Confidence,
that.
you mean, right?
Confidence.
Yeah, I mean, because for some people, it is traumatic to lose their hair, especially when someone loses their hair and they're very young. Because when you're a 20-year-old man, you don't want to go bald. Okay, you're dating, there's this, that, there's the other thing. Like, you don't want to have to go through that. But a lot of young men do, right? And so, when I treat people, and they communicate to me that it's changed the way they feel, of course that's rewarding. I had one kid tell me when I was finished, as soon as I finished, he said, oh man, like I'm going to the club for the first time in a long time. So it's like these little things, but to them it's really important, because he would not go out because he felt self-conscious about the way that he looked. So to be able to give someone the ability to sort of just embody confidence and walk through spaces with confidence. Yeah. I mean, it's
How amazing is that? Like, there's no money can pay that, right? That feeling that you have to make someone feel that good, with themselves.
Yeah. That's really the most rewarding part of doing something like scalp micropigmentation.
How many sections on a full head?
For the most part, it's 3.
3 sections.
It's 3. I mean, sometimes I finished in 2, but for most people, it's 3. For some people, it's more, but it's usually more because there's problems with the skin.
Oh, okay. What kind of problems?
Just like extreme drying, psoriasis, sun damage, people who either haven't taken care of their skin properly, or people who just have, dermatological issues with the scalp.
What do you do in this situation? Do you have to address the dermatological problem first?
That's what I was gonna say, because my tattoo artist, he said my skin is dry, and he was preparing me a week before so I can use some moisturizer.
Yeah.
And to start doing my tattoo, I think you do the same, right?
depending on how bad it is, like if somebody just has a little patch of dermatitis or eczema, it's not that big of a deal. I can work around it until they get it resolved, and I can always come back to it, and even it out if it's necessary. But if someone has like a really bad like scalp, then they have to either get it addressed by a dermatologist, so that then the skin is workable. Because if you're working on healthy skin, it's going to give you a result that you're not happy with and that they're not happy with.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody that weren't happy with the work? Not with the work, with the end result, because it's something new too.
Yeah.
Even with the haircuts, people like, wow, Tico, you told me that's totally different. So I'm gonna get used. The haircut is amazing, but I need to get used to it.
Right.
What about you? It happens with you too?
Say your question again.
The question is if anybody like was kind of
Unhappy.
not just unhappy, like stumped, like wow, this is new for me. Do you have anybody or unhappy too?
No, luckily no. What it is that a lot of guys, even though they're bald, they have 3 hairs going like this.
And they
don't want to let go.
Yeah.
They don't want to let go. I'm like, just please cut those 3 hairs. You're gonna trust me. You're gonna look better, please. And they're holding on to those 3 hairs, right? So when they finally cut it, it's like they're gone. The 3 hairs are gone. They're
3 strands. One here.
They're
one
traumatized
here.
for the 3 strands. You know what I'm saying? But so that's just at the initial like change. But once they've settled into it and they look at themselves, and they get reactions from people who tell them clearly you look better. I mean, yeah. So no. So I think it's just I've had people who are hesitant to
But
cut
before.
right to cut their hair.
Oh, okay.
To cut their hair. And so when they do, it's that, ooh, I cut my hair, even though they look better. But within several weeks, of course, they come to the realization, okay, I look better.
One idea I'm going to give it to you. You're the specialist, but I'm a specialist with facial hair and stuff. I saw many bald guys with the facial hair, like long beard, all lined up, nice and even. It looks sexy, man. It looks amazing. I like it. So I have one client. He's like bulky. He's bald. This guy looks like a Wolverine, but he looks good. So you can advise them to like
Grow
your beard
beard.
grow, and with the bald hair.
That's so funny that you say that, because I always say that.
Oh,
Like I see certain looks, like that people have, and usually the buzzed head, like this is a buzzed head. So, and a beard, go well. And if you have tattoos, it goes even better.
Goes even better. Yeah, this guy that I'm talking about, he's all tat.
Yeah.
So,
It just kind of gives you like that badass vibe, that look.
Can you explain the process of each sessions, like the first sessions, what you do, second, third?
So every session is basically kind of almost the same thing, right? So you create a first session, but it's obviously the least finished session, right? Because it's the least amount of impressions on the skin. So they're still spread apart. It doesn't look finished. The second session, you come in and you go over the whole thing again, because we do the whole thing. We don't do sections.
On the same dots?
When someone is a beginner, we don't teach it that way. We teach them to go in between the dots that they already made.
Okay.
Because it's safer. Okay. But like someone like me or someone who has a lot of experience, yeah, because that's what creates the best texture.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when I'm doing like dots on top of dots, and I'm using, let's say like I use a shade 10, right? So and then if I go to a lower number, it's darker. So
What do you mean? It's dark and lower?
So basically,
lighter?
we have the pigment and we dilute it
With water?
with distilled water.
Distilled water.
So the more that you dilute it, like if I was going to do it on her, I have to dilute it a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because she's fair skinned. With you, I have to dilute it. With someone who's African, I have to dilute it less, because I need the pigment to be strong. Because the skin is dark and I need to create the contrast.
That's contrast. Oh, good.
Yeah, and so every session builds on top of the last. And the aim, the goal is to build texture. And that only happens with dots on top of dots.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And because I've used different tones, like even on you, I would use like maybe like start with light, Then I would get darker in the second session. Then I would get darker in the third session. So because the dots are all different shades and they're on top of one another, it creates texture that you need. Because if not, it looks flat and it doesn't look real.
Yeah.
When that became popular?
Scalp micropigmentation is like, it's like 12 years old.
12 years old?
It's only a little over a decade old, maybe 12, 13. It's not that old, but it's come such a long way.
It's come such a long way.
It's come such a long way, yeah.
Like barbering exploded like in 2013 because of social media, but not only that, because men now are demanding more from us, but explodes like from 2013 now. It's growing like a lot.
Yeah.
Per year.
Well, because what you see on Instagram, like I was telling you, I'll see work on Instagram of a barber, and I'm like, wow, just like design and like. But it's perfect. It's like such a, that's art and that's talent. That's what it is. It's talent.
Talent. How long it takes for a full head? Like the most bald person sits in your chair, and how long it takes? How many hours?
If there's no problems with the skin, 3 to 4.
3 to 4 hours?
3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
3 to 4 hours. If you're someone that's newer, it's going to take longer because you don't have the hand speed. Like when I first started, I would do a head like that, and I'd be there like 5-6 hours. And that's grueling. That's tough because it's not like it's a job where you can like take a break or look out the window. You're like this.
3 hours.
So when you're done, one eye's this way, the other one's that way,
and you only see dots, right?
Yes. So, I mean, yeah.
Have you had clients that you had to fix their SMP that they did with someone else and you didn't look good?
Yeah.
Is it more challenging when you have to fix?
It can be, yeah, because you're fixing mistakes.
It's harder than you do from...
I'd rather just not do it. Sometimes if it's too bad, you can't fix it. You have to send them to get laser. I had one client who had like 5 laser treatments. It's brutal. Like he showed me the pictures, and it literally looked like the skin was melting off, and it was oozing liquid, because it was burnt. So it was like liquid, and oh my God. He went through hell. But because he went to somebody who didn't have the necessary experience.
Yeah.
It's either that or there's clinics that you have to be careful about because they're called one and done, which means they tell you, I can finish you in 1 session.
Oh.
Right.
And it's not possible to do in 1 session.
It's possible, but the potential for a botched job is much greater because what I'm trying to do in 3 or 4 sessions, they're doing in 1. But those 3 sessions give me the ability to control what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Because I'm going slower. If I'm trying to finish, let's say you were bald in 1, how do I know how you're going to heal? Yeah. How do I know what it's going to look like? I'm just going hard to cover your whole head. And so there's a tendency to go too hard, too much pigment, too dark, too fast, and it's a botch.
It's always harder, baby. When someone walks with a bad haircut from someone else at our shop, it's much harder to fix than start from beginning, from nothing. It's much harder, 10 times harder. Right.
Because when you're doing the work, you have a blank canvas to work with. But then when you're fixing, there's
you have to work around
there. It makes more challenging, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I could show you guys pictures that you'd be like, like horror.
You were telling me how important barbers should go into this field. So can you share more, ask more, do whatever you want to say for these guys that are listening?
I think even though they're different, right? Clearly one's tattooing, one's barbering, but there is a crossover because it has to do with hair or giving the appearance of hair. And since barbers have clients, they're in a position where they can pull from those people if they are savvy enough and can sell what they've learned to their clients. It's an advantage, right? Because someone who doesn't have that, how do you find clients? Barbers have people coming to them. So it's an advantage. I would recommend it if I was a barber. I'm like, hey, listen, I offer this. Look, I was, saying, so they have that advantage where they can exploit and take advantage of the fact that they're in a position where they already have a stream of clients coming in. That's the main thing that I think is beneficial to being a barber. trying to break into the SMP field.
Money-wise, what do you say? Barbers doing scalp micropigmentation, doing a lot more money than barbers. What do you say? It's really good way to monetize?
You mean which makes more money?
Yeah.
Scalp micropigmentation.
Scalp micropigmentation. Right?
Yeah, by far.
There's any chance you can share how much you charge for? If you don't want to share,
Just
it's
share the
fine.
average in the market. You don't need to give
I
our
mean,
prices.
I mean, I honestly, my average for like a head that's like bald. I mean, of course, the sides and the back are there because guys just lose the top.
Just the top, uh-huh.
Is about 3,500. Is the average? It could be 32, it could be 34, it could be 36. That depends on how because sometimes you get a a watermelon and you're like, damn, I'm gonna be there for 10 hours.
What are the pros and cons on doing a scalp micropigmentation?
The pros are that you no longer have to worry about your particular hair loss situation. If there's issues of self-confidence, they will be resolved mostly. It's easy to maintain. It looks good. And it's something that never goes out of style. You can open a men's magazine, any men's magazine. There's always going to be like 5 models that have a buzz head. That's never going to go out of style. It's timeless. And so it checks a lot of boxes, right? The detriment, something that's negative, would only be a bad job, the risk of a bad job. And that only happens when people shop for price too much, right? Because if I'm offering a service and I'm charging $3,000 and that person over there is saying, yeah, I'll do it for you for $1,200. What should come into your head is why? And the reason why is probably because there's no experience. Right.
It's just like doing a tattoo. Some people charge like $25 an hour and some people charge $300 an hour. So you choose, right?
And a lot of times you get what you pay for. I had a couple in my office. This was like months ago, like 4 months ago. And there's some of that. They came to me. They did my consultation. They didn't choose me. They went with someone else. The wife was shopping for him. They went with someone else. And then a couple of months later, they show up at my office again. And he's wearing a hat. And he takes off the hat, and it's just it's a mess. And then she starts crying, the wife, because she was shopping for him, and so he got the tattoo. I mean, it's not her fault. He went along with it, but that's what happens when you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
My wife is always complaining about me because I like good stuff. When I buy, she always say, for you, everything that expensive is good. It doesn't mean that.
But there is a misconception about price and being good.
Of course.
Of course, good professionals charge more.
I think it depends on what we're talking about because
Yes.
I'm cheap. I like to bargain shop.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay. I want to get
Some
the best
things-
price.
exactly.
But some things
There's
you
no way.
should reconsider that mindset.
I have terrible tattoos because of that. Choosing the wrong guy to do my tattoos. And they were cheaper. And then the tattoos look terrible.
She have a few terrible tattoos.
Yeah, and there's no way to fix it.
What kind of tattoos do you have? What do you have? What's the art? What's the art that you got?
No, it's nothing really difficult to do. It's not like,
She has a star, butterfly.
yeah, like girly stuff. Star, dog paws. But
The quality wasn't what you wanted.
yeah, but it was my fault because
Yeah.
I was shopping around
Yeah,
for the cheap tattoo
because
artists.
we're used to doing it. You
That's
know, we're
not
saying,
good.
and we hope, we're going to get a killer price and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Usually not.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
In my mind works like this. If I go get a t-shirt, right? I want to get a good one because it will last me longer. Because if I buy cheap, like you said, it depends. But sometimes I go to Ross, I get something really nice for cheap and lasts me long. Sometimes I get cheap stuff. It doesn't last me that long.
Yeah. It works
So,
for some things. It
it
doesn't,
doesn't
work,
work
for
for
others.
Yeah. I think clothing, it doesn't have to be with the price. Of course, if you buy a $3 shirt on Walmart, yeah, the quality. But there's also the brand. Like if you're buying something from a famous brand, it's going to be more expensive. And you can find the same quality cheaper that doesn't have the tag.
Right.
So
But
it depends what.
culturally, we're conditioned to want the brand.
Correct.
Right. Like I have friends, or a specific friend that I'm thinking about. She only buys designer. Right. And I'm like, I'm not freaking paying that. You freaking crazy. You know, it has to be the Gucci frames. It
Yeah.
has to be the Louis Vuitton. It has to be. And I mean, a lot of times that stuff is beautiful. Right. But like, I'm cheap.
Yeah.
I'm cheap. I don't want to pay like
We're paying for the
$1,000
tag.
for a wallet.
You are someone that you like to save your money and all that? Because I'm going to give you an idea.
Uh-huh.
Only wear black.
Oh
I
yeah,
only wear
that's what
black.
we do.
Yeah.
If you talk to some of my friends, they'll be like, dude, about me, can you please wear something other than black? Like my whole closet is really black.
No way.
Yeah.
Just like me.
This that I wore, I never wear colors like this. But you know my friend that I just told you about, she's the designer person,
Designer.
right? So I'm always asking her, what should I wear? And so I send her the picture of your studio, right? And she's like, powder blue or a baby blue, because you have to pop. You have to pop. And I'm like, okay.
But
all
That
right.
was a
if you're
good
looking over there,
choice.
you're really popping. I like
That's
that.
a good choice.
Right.
Good
So
choice.
this was her advice to me. So we went with it.
It makes it easier when you don't have to worry about what you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Highly productive people, if you look like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they're always wearing the same style clothes. Because they don't want to worry about what I'm gonna wear today.
And that's time
But also
consuming
at the
It's
same time, when
time-consuming.
you have that much money, you don't care.
much,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can go around in your pajamas and it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
I
You
know
know?
this really like famous and rich guy in Brazil. Man, all his seminars is with how do you call
Moletom?
moletom?
I don't know how do you call it in English.
Khakis?
I don't know.
Um,
It's not.
it's not pajamas. It's the cotton, thick cotton
Okay.
pants.
Yeah.
And the thick cotton blouses
Right.
and stuff.
He's
How do
always
you
like
call
that.
it in English?
Is it what is the name? I can't think of it, you guys.
Yeah, it's cotton. Really, it's like
not-
for winter time, but
Or to go to the
wool?
gym.
Wool? No, it's not wool.
I forgot. He only wear that.
Yeah.
In his rich,
He's
wealthy,
millionaire.
millionaire, and he said, "I don't care. Now I'm going."
But what
to
I
wear-
tell you,
that's
because
it.
when you have a certain amount of wealth, who cares?
Who cares?
I'm not that wealthy,
You're
but
still
I
gonna
like
do-
to wear simple black, and I don't have to worry
I don't spend
about
time
it.
trying to find what I'm gonna wear every day. Just
Yeah.
pick my black shirt, my black
Right.
pant, and go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
It saves time.
Yeah, black is always a good way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
never
and
out of
look
style.
slimmer.
You can't go wrong. You look slimmer. It's it just always works. Black always works.
I have a question about the SMP. So, does it need retouching in every few years or whatever?
Yeah, every form of cosmetic tattooing is going to need a retouch because cosmetic tattooing is not as deep into the skin as body art.
Okay.
So body art, they're going, they're digging into your skin. It bleeds. Like this doesn't bleed.
You just go through the first layer of the skin, right?
Right. Just right there. You're trying to keep it right there on the surface. And for that reason, clearly it's going to have a fading, aspect to
Process.
it, aspect to it. So usually 2 to 4 years, you need to have it revisited.
And then when you retouch, do you go over the same dots you created? How do you do that?
Usually
to not
the-
create more dots.
What you have to create more dots. What you do is you do not want to go tight
Oh,
because if you go too tight, it's going to make it flat again.
oh, okay.
So you want to keep it open to a certain degree so that you get that texture again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a interesting question. So let's say I'm 30 years old. I did the scalp micropigmentation. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
My hair is supposed to be black because I'm 30 years old. But what happens when I'm 50, 60? And I have all the black dots in my head and my hair is actually supposed to be gray and become white.
Just shave.
It won't
What do you do?
It won't matter because I'm not really applying black dots to your head. It's a shade of gray.
Okay.
So it always works. So it works for blondes. It works for gray. It doesn't matter. You just have to have the understanding about how to apply it in a way that it's not going to do what you just said.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because if I do go too dark or too heavy, of course, because there's going to be too much of a contrast.
They already have different colors for different type of hair.
The
Not skin, but hair.
the majority of the industry uses just carbon black.
Carbon black. Okay.
And it's diluted. So for the first 3.5 years, that's all I used.
Okay.
No modifiers, no other colors, no nothing. Just
What-
the grayscale.
What about someone that is a ginger?
You can still do it.
You can still do it?
You can still do
Oh,
it. You
that's
can still do
amazing.
it. Now I experiment a little bit more. I'll add modifiers. Like I'll add an orange or something to warm it up. Because the thing with light color skin is that, like her, for example, if I tattoo her too hard, too aggressively with pigment that's too dark, it could turn blue.
Yeah, that's what happened with my tattoos. They are all bluish.
They are blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it bothers me so much.
You know why? Because
I'm so white.
your skin is very fair.
Yeah.
And so it has a translucency, right? So the pigment that's inside of your skin didn't change color. That's black. But the filter, your skin is the filter. So when the light hits that, the skin is filtering the pigment underneath and it's changing the color to the eye.
That makes sense. My tattoos are all bluish. The artist didn't know how to use the color properly, right?
Right.
They put black.
That's what it comes down to, yeah.
Do you use the same ink as tattoos for body art or no?
I mean, it's pigment. They're similar. I mean, we use a carbon, and so there's similarities. I could use a tattoo ink and achieve the same result.
Does any prior, like before and after procedure, the client has to do it after the procedure?
If
there's any
care before
care
and after.
Well, leading into it, we recommend that the person exfoliate their skin because you don't want to tattoo dry, dead skin because when the dry, dead skin falls off, it's going to take the color with it.
But how long they do that before?
I usually make them do it a week.
A week.
A week to 2 weeks. Scrub the skin and moisturize it. Do treatments on the scalp so that when you come in, the skin is healthy.
What about the after?
The aftercare is usually like we recommend that you don't get it wet for the first 4 days and that you avoid excessive sweating. That's basically the gist of it.
Sun.
And no sun exposure.
No sun too.
No sun exposure, yeah. In the healing process, during the healing process, yeah.
Then do you do more men or women? I suppose more men.
I do about 70%, 75% men, and then the rest women.
Then when you're doing women, then they'll be committed with the hair color forever?
No.
Like if you do my hair now is ginger, but then I want to be blonde after, I don't know, 2-3 years later.
It will make very little difference. It will make very little difference, yeah. It's preferable if you have if you're a brunette. Right, it's easier. You'll make my life easier.
Yeah.
But I can still work you as a ginger, But I wouldn't recommend you coming in as a ginger and then like 2 weeks later saying, "Hey, I'm blonde now."
Yeah.
I'll ask you in the consultation. I'll prepare for those things in advance.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because usually we change your hair multiple times through our life, different colors, and then what if you committed with that specific shade you use it, how it's going to look like if I change my
Well,
hair
the
color.
beauty of it is that since it is so superficial to the skin, it's going to lighten.
Over time.
So by the time it lightens 2 to 4 years, then you can change, you could make changes. And even if you made a change, if you have enough hair, you're not going to be able to tell.
And does it disappear after it fades? Does it fade to the point that it's completely gone, the pigment from your scalp? Or no?
I don't know how long it would take for it to actually completely fade because most people, at least my clients, always get it touched up. So I've never had someone where I could actually see them for 10 years and see if it's completely gone in 10 years. I have a feeling that it won't be completely gone, but that it would be really, really light. Yeah. Super light.
Super light. Is it painful? Does it hurt like tattoos?
Not like that. No. It's more of like a nuisance. It's like a mosquito, a really angry mosquito.
Use any numb cream?
No. No numbing cream because numbing cream affects retention because it makes the skin tough. It makes it hard. And since you're using a micro needle, you want to penetrate the skin. You don't want to have to be dealing with hard skin.
Got it. So they have to go through the little discomfort.
Right. And most people are fine with it. I mean, and especially women, you guys are like...
Oh, yeah. They can handle pain.
But isn't it too sensitive in your scalp?
No,
I mean, not really. Yeah, because it's not so deep. Yeah. But you guys have a very high pain tolerance.
Compared to men?
Oh my God.
The guys are.
Some of the men. I had one who would stop me every 15 minutes. Stop. And he would get up and do push-ups to pump himself up and then sit back in the chair. And then like 2 weeks later, he shows up. I open the door. He's with his wife. And he brought her so that she could massage his hand. So he's like this. And she's massaging the whole way through. And I'm like, wow. So, yeah, there's a difference in pain tolerance.
I can hold only the pain for 3 hours only. normal than when I'm tatting myself. But I don't think that is hurts like this.
No,
It
this
doesn't hurt.
hurt like hell.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
God.
it's not deep, as you
And
said.
I have a tattoo on my stomach. I remember sweat, like cold sweat, like, oh my God, that pain was horrible. Yeah. I love tattoos, but I'm not getting any more because I don't want to deal with the pain.
The
Yeah,
pain,
pain.
yeah.
You
And the
kind of
numbing-
forgot the pain about a year, and then you're trying to do it again, but you never forget the pain, right?
You never forget the pain.
And the numbing cream, it compromised the results, so it's not a good option, right?
I have done only numbing cream with one, and it happens. It's my only woman that was having trouble with the pain. And because I like to experiment, like, right? They teach you a certain way, and when you're working under somebody else, you have to do it the way that they tell you.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, you want to respect their space. But when you have your own space, you're at liberty to do whatever you want. So I can experiment. So I did use numbing cream on this one woman. It did prolong it. It took me longer because the skin was tougher. But I did it just to see if it would work. If I used numbing cream, if it would work. And it did. It did work.
The final result was good.
The final result was like all my other results.
It was just that the skin was too hard.
Except that,
For
yeah,
it
it
to
was
work.
more work for me. Yeah, it was more work for me.
I think we didn't discuss, or you didn't tell us. I don't know. I didn't make that question. Where are your location, Vanguard?
Vanguard SMP is in Orlando,
Is in
Florida.
Orlando.
Winter Park, to be exactly. Yeah.
If someone want to contact you, how?
So you guys can find me on Instagram. So Vanguard SMP at Vanguard SMP. It's the same for Facebook. And if you want to check out the website, it's the same, vanguardsmp.com.
How it works? They have to go there, so you analyze their skin first.
You need a consultation.
Consultation?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Because that way I can look at you, and because some people don't even know how bald they really are. Like, I have so many guys call me and say, "Yeah, I'm only a little bit on the top, only a little bit." They
then
come in, the whole damn thing, they're bald
With
as
the
hell.
watermelon head.
Yeah.
Something else really interesting. You were saying that you have classes there to teach people too, right?
Yes.
Can you share with us?
So yeah, I
It'll be
mean,
about-
I have a training program that I train whoever is interested in getting into the field, and I want to provide good training. I want to provide quality training, but because, like, for example, in a place like Florida, there's no regulation, so you can take an online course and then start working,
Wow.
never having touched anybody's skin, never having had a trainer in person to help you. Just online.
That's like tattooing, and tattoo artists, they need a license for it.
Right. We need a license, but hey, the license, you can go to the
that's
health
good.
department, you pay
Yeah.
$84, you get a license.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So because of that, there's so many trainers that don't know what they're doing. And they are creating a problem because when you go through that training, you're starting from a place where you're already kind of like behind and you have a handicap because you don't even know what you're doing. You weren't trained properly. So because of my background and who I studied with, I have to provide training that is quality. And I think part of that is once the training is finished, that you do not abandon the student because they're not going to be ready after 3 or 4 days of training.
Can you go more in depth in your program, like explain how it works?
Yeah, I mean, well, any training that you do should include theory, of course, like how it works and like how the color can, change and like, all of the theory that is applied to a scalp micropigmentation. And then in addition to that, of course, you have exercises, practical exercises. We use cantaloupes.
Oh, cantaloupes.
Okay, because cantaloupes, they're softer than human skin. And so what it does is it teaches the student to be careful. Because if you take the machine and put it to the cantaloupe, the dot will get big quick.
Wow,
That's
amazing.
interesting.
Very.
So if they learn on a cantaloupe to do it small,
They can do it.
they'll do it small here.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
It does, 100%. How many hours it takes? The program,
training.
or days, or
It's
weeks?
3 days.
3 days.
It's 3 full days. Trainings are either 3 or 4 days. Mine is 3 days because I don't include filler. Like, I don't teach my students who invented scalp micropigmentation or the history of pointillism. If you want to know what that is, Google it.
You always follow up with the. You were saying that you have a student out of state, right?
Yeah.
And you always follow up with them and help
Yeah,
them.
I mean that's crucial. Yeah, that's something that I'm really like passionate about because I feel that I was lucky, right? I studied under like one of the most accredited like masters that has the most accolades. So I was so lucky. So I can't train someone and then just be like, because it's just like, how could I do that?
All my students, I do the same. They call me back. They send me message. I help them as much as I can.
I am still in communication with people who trained 2-3 years ago. You know,
Yeah, that's awesome.
2-3 years
So you
ago.
give them the support. And do they training people after they on the last day maybe or no?
Huh?
Real models? Do you use real models?
Oh
for them
yeah,
to
you have to.
practice?
You have to. They have to have time on a model on live skin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they get that first feeling of what it's like, and they get past the fear of having to do it on the
Break
skin.
the ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they just need to be a scalp micropigmentation specialist. You just need a tattoo artist license, right? Because you're dealing with tattoo.
Yeah.
In the state of Florida, I don't know
To
about
do
other
it,
states.
yes, yeah. If all you need is that, you need the training and you need the tattoo license. But to do it well, you need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell the percentage of your students? What is their background mostly? The people that come for training?
A lot of them are in the PMU world, permanent cosmetics. So they already do eyebrows and lips and liner. There's a lot of barber influx. Over the past few years, there's been a tsunami of barbers that are coming in. And then you just have people like me, you know what I'm saying? I was a massage therapist, and then I decided to be a scalp micropigmentation artist. So you run the gamut of all different types of people.
Do you have people that has no background in the beauty industry at all?
Of course. Yeah.
What is the percentage of them?
Percent. It's a smaller one.
Very small.
I can't think of a number, but it's a smaller one. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But there are people who are, I don't know, a housewife, and she decides she wants to do scalp micropigmentation. It happens.
Do you teach eyebrows too, or no? You're just focusing scalp. That's your.
I've trained in eyebrows. I've taken courses myself in eyebrows. I've taken 2 courses in eyebrows. It's not my favorite, so I never really. There's a thing about tattooing a woman's face for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just it's a whole different thing. If I wanted to, I could do it. I just haven't invested the time in doing it. But my company, Vanguard Smp, does have a PMU division in it.
Okay.
But that is still in the works. It's not where the scalp micropigmentation is right now. It's not fully developed. But I am partnering with a very good friend of mine who is, she's fantastic at it, and she's going to man that section, that division, that department. And then
Nice.
once we have that in place, then we'll have, both.
And how did you go from doing just serving clients and teaching? How was this idea you know what, I'm gonna train people to do the same work? How did it happen?
Well, because at the first studio that I was at, the only studio that I was at, I would sit in on trainings. I would observe, and I thought I can do that. I can do that well, because I know my abilities. We know what we're good at, and we know what we're not good at,
Yeah.
and I know that I would be good at doing that. Because students feel extremely comfortable with me. I'm not a tough love person. I'm kind of a nurturer person. You know what I'm saying? So that creates an environment where people are very comfortable with me, and they learn, and I invest in them. You know what I'm saying? It's hard once you have enough students to help all of them. Do you know what I'm saying? But you have to make that effort. And sometimes you fall short because I can't be, everywhere at once. But my intention is there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You only teach out of your base in Orlando or anywhere else?
Yes. So right now we just teach out of Orlando.
Okay.
Soon South Florida maybe.
Yeah, that was my next question. You thinking about to spread your Vanguard company to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's South Florida is a really large market. There's more competition, but I think I've carved out enough of a name for myself in the industry that I'm sure it'll be challenging, but I'm up for the challenge.
What are the top 5 or 10 biggest name in your industry?
In terms of just how big the operation is,
The best.
The best, meaning
That
that
you'd
quality and
there's a lot. I'll get in trouble if I name 5.
name 3.
Listen, there's so many good people now that I don't have a top 5 that I think are the best. I have the favorite of the day.
Okay.
Okay, I go to my Instagram and I'm like, you killed it today. You're the best today. The next day is somebody else. The next day somebody else, because there's a good amount of good people now. There's an ocean of terrible people, but there's a good amount of good people, you know? And some days I scroll by and it's my picture and I say, you did good job. You were the best today.
I like that.
So just say like in steps, how can someone become a specialist in micropigmentation, scalp micropigmentation? They step 1. First, you need to do this. Second, you need to do that.
Proper training. Once the training is finished, committing to actually practicing, because if you don't do that, you're not going to do it. That's the hardest part, those first 6 months. You have to be willing to just do it. Even if you're just doing it on a cantaloupe, don't stop. Because if you stop, you get cold, you're done.
I tell the same thing, my students.
You're done. Having that dedication and that commitment to keep with it after you're done training, and then just hustle for those first models. Even if it's your uncle, even if it's your mother, you have to find a way. I know somebody, not personally, but I know of them who would go to homeless shelters.
Wow.
Or homeless people and say, hey, I'll buy you lunch. I'll buy you dinner. Are you willing to do this for me if I buy you food? So that's an extreme case that not everybody's going to do that, but you have to be willing to take it as far as you need to be successful.
Wow.
If I do SMP my scalp, let's say I'm a man, and later on I decide to do hair implant, is there any issue with that or no? It doesn't.
They work well together. Because I get a lot of referrals from Bosley, which is the hair transplantation place. They refer people to me because most men, when they get a hair transplant, are not happy because it's not full enough. There's hair there, but they still kind of bald and
They
thin.
can see through, yeah.
So when you combine the scalp micropigmentation with a hair transplant, it's better because it gives the illusion of being more full.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I liked your vibe. I love your vibe. I could be talking here for another hour. And I think you shared a lot, and you could share 10 times more. But we're about to finish, do you like to leave your information, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, website, one more time, everything?
You guys can find me at Vanguard SMP on Instagram, Vanguard SMP on Facebook. That's my business page, and the website is www.vanguardsmp.com. So it's fairly simple. Yeah, it's all uniform, and you'll see my work there. If anybody's interested in training, reach out. And that's about it. Thank you.
Guys, we're here with Miss Denise Romero, and it was an amazing conversation. I always like to bring people like you, and specialists in your craft, in your trade.
Yeah.
So all our listeners and audience can learn from it. And this is the Black Belt Barber podcast, the only podcast about entrepreneurship for barbers and profession of our beauty industry. Guys, follow me, Tico Invictus, on Instagram. Thank you for watching. Again, thank you, sir, for coming out here.
Thank you,
from
guys.
Orlando.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.